Many thanks for joining. This is Breakfast Central. Now you can follow us on all socials. We're at News Central TV on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, if you're outside Nigeria, you could check us out on Twitter as well. But let's start by taking a look at the stories that have made the front pages of the papers. And the very first paper we're starting with this morning, Olisa, we might be starting with The Punch.
Right, so it's Monday. Let's start with a punch in Nigeria, West Africa. Lots to talk about, but the big story all about the Anambra gubernatorial polls that happened at the weekend. So it says Soludo set to win, leads in 17 local government areas, and APC alleges rigging. And you also have the writers there that talks about PDP, YPP in one win one in LG, the local government each, APC yet to win. And there's a quote there saying we won't accept result. APGAT Reid claims that's the APC. Also on the front page, a picture of the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo during an emergency ECOWAS extraordinary session of the authority of the heads of state yesterday of government and the political situations in the Republic of Guinea and Mali in Accra, Ghana. So that's to see the presidential guard lined up there to welcome him. Also at the top of the paper, The Punch this morning, banks, insurance firms rake at 22.6 billion naira from MDAs. Find out more on the front page of The Punch in Nigeria.
Moving from Nigeria, let's go to Tanzania. We're looking at the Citizen's paper this morning. Now, the Citizen is all about the senior citizens in the country. It says pension delays put retirees in limbo. Pension delays put retirees in limbo. It says dreams of some pensioners to take up business when they retire are fading fast due to overly long delays in payment of their benefits by Social Security funds. That's on page 2. You can see the senior citizens here. You can see the woman not so happy at this point, but there's more story in that on page 2 of the Citizen. Now you can see this picture here. That's a lot of cashew nuts, lots of them in those sacks there. Why things are looking up for cashew farmers? That's also on page 2. You can see 2,331 shillings. But what does this mean for cashew farmers? There's more details on page 2 of the Citizen. Also on page 3, EAC on cultural diplomacy, the diplomacy plan to up investment. That's on page 3 from the Citizens in Tanzania.
I'm sticking with Nigeria yet again with the Daily Trust this morning to see what they have. So the big headline there involves the customs unit of Nigeria. It says disquiet as custom officers extort motorists on highways. And the writer said it talks about we were made to pay between 10,000 naira on 150,000 naira according to motorists, and a spokesperson from the NCS says patrol legal show proof of extortion. But there's a picture there of armed custom officers operating at a checkpoint perhaps in the intersection of intertravel states there. So there you have it, disquiet as custom officers extort motorists on highways. That's a big accusation and big stories with the back and forth on the Daily Trust. Also at the bottom, Anambra, Guba, Soludo, coast to victory. That's a big one in Anambra State. And at the top left there, 800 teachers lost to insurgency in Northeast. That's according to the Nigerian Teachers Union, the NUT. Find out more on the front page and inside the Daily Trust in Nigeria.
Moving from Nigeria to wrap up the newspaper for today, we're going to Kenya, and it's all about the Daily Nation. Now, the Daily Nation has this picture here. You can see him. Oh, yes, there he is. Revealed the Rallier 150 billion shilling cash plan with a rider that says beneficiaries 6,000 shillings will be paid to families in need, not the youth, as earlier indicated. Well, that's also on page 7 of the Daily Nation this morning. You can see these youngsters over there. Yes, that's the lower picture on the lower part of the paper. They look excited. Well, they are dancing to a tune. It says it's joy of Mulid for Muslims, Muslim faithful from 17 countries during the celebrations. Yes, there's more on that also from the Daily Nation this morning. A sad one on page 3, waterfall of death. Residents revere beautiful sight, the swallowed boys. That's on page 3 of the Daily Nation this morning.
While away from the newspapers, let's now bring you our top stories right here on Breakfast Central.
And we'll bring you to West Africa, Nigeria, where the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has suspended, the collation of results for the Anambra State governorship election. Now, INEC's chief returning officer for the election, Professor Florence Obi, announced this early this morning at the commission's head office in Oka. Professor Obi said that the commission has collated results from 20 out of the 21 local government areas and will declare the winner of the election after the supplementary election to be conducted in the remaining local government of Ihala has been done.
Well, the supplementary election would be conducted in the 326 polling units across Ihiala tomorrow, which is Tuesday, November the 9th. Meanwhile, though, out of the 20 local government results that INEC have announced, Charles Soludo of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, the APGA, has won 18, while PDP and YPP have won just one each.
Joining us this morning is Public Affairs Analyst and Director, Lead Network Africa, Chukwuma Okenwa. We also have Nwamba Chika Nwamba. He is National Publicity Secretary for PDP in Ebonyi State. Welcome to the program, gentlemen. To start off, Chukwuma, what is your general observation of the entire exercise on Saturday, and what lessons can we learn from the way the elections was conducted?
Well, I would say that the outcome is quite impressive. Contrary to the anticipations of a possible complicit on the part of the security, we saw a great deal of professionalism, just ensuring the safety of the voters. And the initial fears of an unusual voter apathy was also proven otherwise, as we saw people en masse to turn out in no smaller measure than the extent of the voter apathy that existed in Anambra State. So it was no different from every other elections without as much as violence as we witnessed this period. And one of the things also that further authenticated is the fact that the 7 states that do elections at different dates, different from the other 29 that join the general elections, they tend to have more advantage because all of the focus of the nation is on them at that particular point. And what that means is when all eyes are there, it's almost difficult, to compromise the election. So I would say that it largely represents the interest of the people of Anambra State.
All right, so let's bring on Nwamba Chika Nwamba, who's the National Publicity Secretary for PDP in Ebonyi State. Now, Nwamba Chika, you were on ground on that day as an observer. What would you say about the distribution of the materials and the reported failure of the bimodal verification device to accredit voters?
Okay, thank you for having me. I think the inconclusive Anambra election, in quote, is one of the few transparent elections that we have conducted in this country. I was on ground, just as you said. I visited about 7 polling units here in Oka, and the report was that the machine that was to accredit voters, was slow. We didn't get any news that it wasn't working. What they told us was that the machine was slow in capturing and accrediting voters. So there was actually a problem with the machine. But as time went on, it began to flow as expected. So the machine actually delayed the process because earlier it was slated that voting should end by 2:30 p.m. But around that 2:30 p.m., voting was like starting. And in some of the polling booths, like Umudioka, where I visited, I think there were around about 500 to 600 voters queuing up to vote. So
right.
I think the machine...
Now, a lot of people came out to say that people did try to turn up for the voting exercise. But Nwamba, not only were you on ground, you were also on patrol with the Commissioner of Police in Anambra State during the exercise. And going by the number of people who came out to vote, would you say that IPOB's initial threats to boycott the polls affected turnout or not?
No, it didn't. It didn't affect it because, you know, the same IPOB came back to tell us that they have canceled the initial threats that everybody should come out and vote. So, and people turned out to vote more than even some of us expected they could do. You see, so the threat didn't affect it. You know, it might affect some few areas, but for Oka South, Njikoka, and other local government areas that we visited, the turnout was intimidating. I didn't foresee it. I never knew the turnout was going to be like that. So it didn't affect it in any way, and there was no violence. There wasn't violence. You know, many people thought that the election was going to be bloody, and that the deployment of security operatives, you know, was going to scare people away. But not. That didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. So the exercise went well, save for some delay occasioned by the sluggish performance of the machine that was to accredit voters.
All right, gentlemen, the exercise has been declared inconclusive as a result of the no election Ihiala local government area. Now, some people see it as perhaps maybe a plot to obtain the numbers in favor, perhaps on a particular candidate. But what are your thoughts on this? Chukwuma Okemwa, you go first on this.
Well, of course, that cannot happen. We know that you need up to 2/3 of the local government in a state to be declared a winner. And at the moment, we just have one particular party, and that's ABGA, having 17 out of concluded local governments. And some other parties like YPP and PDP, 1-1. APC is yet to get even just one local government, and that's quite shocking. So whatever might be the insinuations, I don't think it's going to play out because one local government will not make a winner.
Do you share the same sentiment, Nwaba? Do you share the same sentiment as Chukwuma? Okay,
I'm
go
with
on.
him. I'm with him. I was inside the hall yesterday, the INEC hall. I was inside there. So it was only Orumba, not local governments, that had some issues. You know, the returning officer insinuated that he was coerced into entering some figures, and not local government area was entered. So it is now remaining Ihiala local government, which, you know, will be done tomorrow, Tuesday. So anybody that is telling you that there was a manipulation, I think the person is not fair. You know, the election, in my own judgment, I never expected it, you know, to become that transparent. It is too transparent to a fault.
Now, you see, this election is seen as a litmus test, as some put it, for INEC ahead of the general election come 2023. Gentlemen, would you say that INEC is ready for 2023? I want to start with you, Nwaba.
Say so. I wouldn't say so because what obtains in the southeast may not be what will obtain in the south, in the north central, and in the northeast. So I can't boldly tell you that INEC is fully ready for the election because Anambra governorship election went well. No. Some of these areas, you know, they have their geographical issues. They have their, you know, voters there have different orientations. So I wouldn't say that, because Anambra election has gone so nicely that it is going to reflect in every other election in this country.
But now, Okemwa, do you share the same sentiment as Nwaba?
Yeah, honestly, because Anambra is just one of the 36 states. And despite the fact that the election to a great extent was digitalized, there were also some issues resulting to delays and all of it. And the interesting thing is, Nigeria is not well policed as a nation. You know that a lot of deployments has to be done from across the country to put all the necessary security on ground, the surveillance, and then you have the favors of, all the organized and international election observers coming together as one. Now, when the election is happening across the whole country, where do we have all of that capacity to create the surveillance, the security, the manpower, the architecture that is needed to deliver election as free, fair, and credible, like the one we saw in Anambra State? So I think the indictment is going to be on capacity. And one of the things, if I was speaking with a friend yesterday, I was proposing, I say it looked like judging from Edo elections, Anambra elections, that were just done at different dates, and every eye was on those states. It does appear maybe doing elections, governorship election for different dates across the country, perhaps could account for more credible elections, being that the whole focus, both the media, would be on that particular state.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, once again, returning to the program. Chukwuma Okemwa, always a regular with us, public affairs analyst and director, Lead Network Africa, and to you, Chika Nwoba, Chika Nwoba, an observer at this election and also publicity secretary for the PDP in Adeboye State. Thank you once again, gentlemen, for your time this morning on Breakfast Central.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
More top stories coming your way.
A summit of heads of states of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, opened yesterday in Accra, Ghana. Now, according to ECOWAS, the summit is devoted to the examination of political developments in the Republic of Guinea and the Republic of Mali.
Now, participants at the summit include the President of Ghana and current Chairman of ECOWAS, Nana Akufo-Addo, as well as his Senegalese counterparts, Macky Sall, Alassane Ouattara of the Ivory Coast, Mohamed Bazoum of Niger, and ECOWAS mediator, former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan. One
of the main issues discussed during this extraordinary summit is the respect of deadlines set for the holding of presidential elections that should lead to civilian rule in both Bamako and Conakry.
ECOWAS Commission President Jean-Claude Cassibrou highlighted some of the issues that African leaders need to rise up and address.
The authority decided to uphold the suspension of the Republic of Guinea from all ECOWAS governing bodies, as well as the travel ban and freeze of financial assets imposed on the members of the CNRD and their family members until constitutional order is restored. The authority highly deplores the lack of progress made in the preparation for the election, including the absence of a detailed timetable of activities for the conduct of election on the agreed dates. The authority reiterates the need to adhere to the transition timetable in respect of the election scheduled for 27 February 2022. Furthermore, the authority calls on the African Union, the United Nations, and the bilateral and other multilateral partners to endorse and support the implementation.
Let's take you to Ethiopia now, where tens of thousands of Ethiopians have vowed to defend the capital from advancing rebels during a pro-military rally yesterday in central Addis Ababa in the latest attempt to shore up public support for the conflict against the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, and allied groups.
Now, this rally comes 5 days after the government declared a nationwide state of emergency, supposedly to protect civilians from the TPLF, which has claimed key gains in recent days. Now, the U.S. Embassy in the country announced on Saturday that it was ordering the departure of non-emergency staffs days after countries including Saudi Arabia, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark urged their citizens to leave Ethiopia.
Now, some of the protesters have blamed the Western media for broadcasting fake news and overstating rebel gains. These were presented in signs and placards.
소유 25간 원래의 비슷가서 보다가 도시가는 야시간 그라파.
Well, you're still watching Breakfast Central. Let's take you down south in Africa to Zimbabwe we go, where alleged ZANU-PF's plots to disrupt the MDC alliance leader Nelson Chamisa's ongoing rural outreach program has been exposed after chats from a ruling party's WhatsApp group went viral. Now, with members accusing each other of giving the opposition leader unwarranted free passage, in their own words, into the Mashonaland Central Province on Wednesday.
Now, in October, Chamisa's Meet the People's tours in Masvingo, Manicaland, Mashonaland West, and Mashonaland Central provinces were violently disrupted by ZANU-PF supporters who accused him of inviting the West to impose sanctions on Zimbabwe.
Now, the ruling party ZANU-PF has distanced itself from the alleged attacks on the opposition leader, including alleged attempts on his life. However, the latest allegations seem to confirm MDC's claims of ZANU-PF's involvement.
Now, joining us all the way from Zimbabwe is our correspondent, Lala Ngwenya. Good morning, Lala.
A very good morning to you too.
Morning, Lala.
These leaked messages from the alleged ZANU-PF WhatsApp group seems to have really caused a stir and sparked quite a few debates, in different corners. And this is because Mashonaland Central has always been known to be a ZANU-PF stronghold. You talk of Mashonaland Central, then you are in one of ZANU-PF home grounds in the country. And in the leaked charts, you can see party members and party activists are accusing themselves and asking each other questions. They're wondering who allowed Chamisa into Mashonaland Central. There's even one a question that is directed at the chairperson of the province, Kazembe, who is also the Minister of Home Affairs. And they're asking him where he was. They ask, where were you? What happened? How did this happen? Why didn't you stop this from happening? It's quite interesting, though the acting spokesperson of ZANU-PF, Michael Bima, he said he hasn't seen the charts. No one has shown him the charts. And he went on to say that ZANU-PF condones violence. But what's quite interesting as well in the charts is that one person was saying the leadership in the province, they should have organized for sports galas or music galas or even a cleanup campaign to disrupt people's attention from attending Chamisa's interface and to attend these galas or the cleanup campaign. But what's also interesting on social media is that Chamisa then tweeted and said that ZANU-PF has been claiming to own Mashonaland Central. He says ZANU-PF has been using violence to remain a stronghold in Mashonaland Central. He says that it is actually violence that has kept ZANU-PF as a stronghold in Mashonaland Central, not support. Well, it looks like the country is headed for quite an interesting election season in 2023. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Lala Ngwenya, our correspondent there from Zimbabwe, giving us the latest. Well, Oluchi, you know what they say about WhatsApp groups. Got to be careful.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes you hope what happens on the WhatsApp group stays in the WhatsApp group, but sometimes it get leaked out. And
political parties and WhatsApp groups, well, the bane of our time. Well, you're watching Breakfast Central on News Central. It's a Monday, 8th day of November 2021. A recap of the stories we brought to you so far, so good on the program. We started in Nigeria, all about the Anambra elections, and for INEC, it's so far inconclusive.
And we also talked about how the West African leaders meet over the cool heat in the Greater Sahel.
Plus, thousands of Ethiopians vow to defend the capital at pro-army rally in Ethiopia. And coming up next on Breakfast Central this morning.
Tanzania targets daily COVID-19 vaccination.
Also, Southeast Seoul lands 50 million shilling deal in Kenya.
Plus, there will be programs you can watch later today on News Central.
Right, you're still watching Breakfast Central today, Monday. Let's go straight in terms of what they call the COVID-19 updates. And we've got Joe Hansen, who's not thrown away from us any time soon. Well, morning to you, Joe. Welcome back once again. Although you're not on the yellow count, but you're there. But Joe, it's interesting that Tanzania are talking about vaccinating people in the second phase of inoculation in the country.
That's right. And they're also looking at making it very big. Their targets are indeed something feasible. But Tanzanian authorities, by the way, says that between 80,000 and 100,000 people will be vaccinated daily against COVID-19 during the second phase of the inoculation campaign. A statement by Abel Makubi from the Ministry of Health, Community Development, Gender, Elderly and Children revealed the acceleration of the vaccination in a meeting with regional medical officers and COVID-19 vaccination coordinators in the capital, Dodoma. According to Makubi, the second phase of the vaccination campaign will mainly focus on rural communities and will go in tandem with raising awareness at community levels on precaution measures issued by health authorities against the pandemic. So it's good news to know that they are actually working very hard. And like we rightly said on this program last week, that ever since she took to power, she has ensured that everything is working out very smoothly. But let's leave Tanzania now. Let's go straight to Rwanda, where Rwanda has received 300,000 doses of Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccine donated by the Chinese government, the second batch donated by China so far. The country's head of Disease Prevention and Control Department, Albert Tuyishime, described the dose as a huge step in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, Rwanda has been working with the Chinese government in terms of testing kits, treatment and vaccination deployment. If you recall, in August, China donated the first batch of 200,000 doses of Sinopharm vaccine that have been used to vaccinate Rwandans, contributing to the Rwandan government's target of vaccinating 60% of its population to protect them against the virus. So it's good news for Rwanda, and they're looking forward to also receive more, which actually shows that they are pressing forward to ensure that all citizens are indeed inoculated. But let me bring you quickly up to speed with the COVID-19 Africa Index. No doubt, according to the Africa Center for Disease Control, the region has recorded over 8.6 million confirmed cases with over 220,000 deaths, while the number of recoveries is pegged at over 7.95 million, which we're hoping that it will continue to increase. When we say increase, we mean the number of recoveries, while we also hope that the number of confirmed cases will drop. Hopefully, it drops from 8 million plus all the way down to about 2 million. And that's what Africa is actually gunning for. So that's all I have for you guys here on COVID-19 updates, Elisa and Oluchi.
All right, Joe, thank you very much for that update. So we hear that the vaccination drive perhaps maybe increasing in different parts of Africa. And other countries, Oluchi, are even opening up. I even heard this one in the US, if you're double vaccinated, perhaps like Joe is,
will be allowed into the country. And even countries like Australia as well that have separated loved ones who have actually left the country. Now, if you're fully vaccinated, you do not need to isolate yourself anymore. You're free to go home.
Joe, I suppose even, I mean, when they say people who are double vaccinated, even countries like Nigeria and Africa, South Africa, right?
That's right, that's right. And it's good news to also know that the United States have come out to say this, because recall that a lot of people have complained bitterly that even though you have been vaccinated, you have to go there. They tell you, oh, we don't trust what you came with, but you know what, quarantine and so on and so forth. So it's been back and forth. We like the fact that the countries are stating these things clearly, making it clear, telling people, listen, if you've done this, this is what you get, and that's what we expect from other countries as well.
All right, so let's open up after quite how many months, more than 20 months of pandemic scenarios. Thanks very much once again, Joe Hansen, for the latest when it comes to COVID-19 around Africa.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you're still watching Breakfast Central. Well, up next, who said what? Well, the trend of, tapping into other people's blessings has been quite highly criticized by a particular preacher in West Africa, and we want you to hear what he had to say on this one. Who said what?
You know, these days I hear things from Christians, and it hurts me, Pastor Kingsley. My heart gets wounded People say, even to me, they say things like, Pastor, I want to tap into your grace. Man of God, I want to tap into your grace. Sometimes they'll come and hold your feet. I want to tap into your grace. I say, are you crazy? What's wrong with you? My grace? Where did you read in the Bible about my grace? Or Pastor Kingsley's grace? It's the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ. I mean, how we can read the Bible and still be I don't get it. It's not as if the Bible is a secret document. It's there written plain. Why? Paul, the apostle of Christ, by the grace of God. By the grace of God. I mean, and then you come and say, I want your grace. I'm tapping into your grace. Tap into my grace. Me, Mezotable, my grace. When I live by the grace of God and by the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, if you have to tap into grace, commonsensically go to the source. If you need grace, go to the giver of grace. The law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Your pastor himself, he stands by the grace of God. The prophet prophesying, he stands by the grace of God. The gifts manifested in us, it is by the grace of God.
Wow. That's
commonsensically for me.
Well, I'm sure lots of people will have lots to say about that, even from different Christian or perhaps non-Christian denominations. Joe, I'm sure what you've been watching that one. That was from Pastor Mensa Otabili in Ghana, the most major speaker and also a preacher, talking about this issue about tapping into someone's grace. But I don't know. I come from the generation of cut soup, Joe. Honestly, I don't know.
Well, or you can say the pressing phone generation. The truth is, we see a lot of this on social media. Somebody just bought a car, they say, oh, wow, congratulations. I tap into your grace. Let me take this grace and so on and so forth. And I think the point is made clearly by what we just saw. What are you tapping into? That's the truth. Go to the source.
Well, I mean, Joe, yes, we understand you need to go to the source directly, but a lot of times people are just saying, I wish to get to that level, or I wish to attain what you've attained, or gotten the property or whatever it is that you've gotten. I mean, we understand that you need to go to the source, but that's just saying it on commonsensically.
Permit me to use a simple analogy, all right?
Right.
There's a tap in front of you. You put it on and water comes out from it, right?
Right.
You put your cup there and you take water. Imagine Oluchi taking water from that tap and I come to Oluchi and say, please give me water from your cup. And Oluchi comes to me and says, Joe, you give me water from your own cup. Why don't we just leave Oluchi to go with her cup and then go straight to the tap where the source is there and take from there?
Pastor Mensa has a point there.
No, but I mean, Joe, Lisa, a typical example of don't give me the fish, teach me how to fish.
Well, all we can say is Well, thanks, Joe, for sticking around for this one. And that was Who Said What for today, Monday, 8 November 2021. You might want to share your thoughts on that one. Tapping into grace, cutting so, perhaps a way of, sharing in someone's joy and success. Well, exactly. Up next, we got entertainment right here on Breakfast.
All right, it is now time to delve into the fascinating world of entertainment, and I am here to give you all the entertainment gist. Now, let's start in Ghana, where the Ghanaian artist Shatta Wale returns into the music scene with new music titled Jailman, which was released over the weekend. Now, this is his first song after his release from the police custody weeks ago. Remember that? Now, in this song produced by Beat Empire, he narrated the experience he had after staying in prison for just 1 week. He came out to urge those who were still there as prisoners to remain strong and hopeful. Now, if we recall, the singer was arrested last month for faking his own death and detained in Nkafu prison, but he was later released on a 100,000 Ghanaian cedis bail. Now, after coming out of jail, the Ghanaian dancehall king decided to use the song Jail Man to speak about the degrading prison system and advocate for a reform. You just have to love how Shatta used the prison experience to fight a good cause.
I really hope it's a good song, though, you know, when you spend 1 week in jail.
It should be. Now moving on to Kenya, where Bien Barasa, one of the 4 members of the sensational Kenyan boy band Sauti Sol, announced that he has been signed as a solo artist to Soul Generation, a company he owns, for 50 million shillings in a 3-year deal. Wow. Bien explained how this new deal affects his position in the band and his label. Now, this is what he had to say. What this deal means is that Sauti Sol is signed to Universal and Soul Generation and is a label in which Sauti Sol is the director. Bien, as an individual, was not signed to an entity. Now, as a businessman, I figured that it would not be proper to ask other artists to join Soul Generation if I'm not also willing to put myself on the table. Pretty smart. Now, despite earlier announcing their plans for members to work on various individual projects in an open letter to fans, the band is still together and is preparing for a mega concert in Nairobi this December. Looking forward to that. Now, Bien Aim has released his first solo EP titled Bald Men Love Better in collaboration with Kenya jazz mantra Aaron Rebo, I beg your pardon, and is a first release under Soul Generation Records through a joint venture with Exodus Entertainment. Now, this 5-track EP features the Baldwin Anthem. It also features Stamina. You also have Homecoming, Reset, Rewind, and the newly released song titled Mbenwe Mbenwe. Now, let's check this out.
Peleka maisha pole pole, dajipe mwenyewe zitoke, kunywa maji ukimaliza kunywa pombe, peleka maisha pole pole.
All right, that was some lovely song. I'm looking forward to the December concert. Now, Odise, for the song Bald Men Love Better, really?
If that case, I really need to change my looks and perhaps, because come on, if that's true. But I'm happy for Bien. I was thinking it was perhaps the whole band getting that 50 million shillings deal, but just him as a member.
Right.
They are insisting that they are still together. That's Sauti Sol, popular Kenyan boy band. Great song, great singing sensation. But this is Bien going solo this time and getting 50 million shillings deal.
For a 3-year
You know what they
contract.
say about money, when money enter inside, relationship
But
and bands.
I'm also happy for Shatawale. Look at how he turned that whole scenario. Now there's a song, Jail Man, but Olisa, you had to come out and say you hope the song really makes sense. Like, seriously.
There's this thing about, rappers or artists. When you go into jail, you have this kind of, is it that street cred when you come out? You go into jail.
I mean, it's sometimes when you go into those kind of places, it makes you understand certain things people go through. I mean, you're supposed to go to a prison area to be reformed, but sometimes you come back as a hardened person.
Yeah, and does it mean that Shatawale has another new level of, dopeness in Ghana? It'd be nice to know what people in Ghana think about that. Remember the different artists like 50 Cent, even Nigeria here.
Yeah.
Naira Marley, there's a popular song that came out after he went into. I cannot say that because it's a Monday. What he does have to do with cutting soap,
Olisa.
Anyway, that's just
Olisa is back. Olisa is really back. All right, you're still on Breakfast Central, still to come on the program.
Also to come on Breakfast, all about the New York City Marathon, and Kenyans did it once again on 1 in 2, male and female. Paresh Chepcheche and Albert Correa. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. Right, then let's give you some sports and updates right here on Breakfast Central on News Central. All about the New York City Marathon as it happened yesterday. And Kenyans did it once again. This time Olympic medalist And champion Perez Chepcheche, she did so well to win the race in the women's section of the marathon yesterday. Olympic champion sprinted to the finish line to beat Kenya's Viola Chepto, who finished second, and Ethiopia's Abiel Yanese, who came third. She's 28 years of age, and she won in a time of 2 hours, 22 minutes, 39 seconds. Not a bad one for Chepcheche. Perez is the first athlete to win Olympic gold and race the New York Marathon in the same year. Another bad one also for the man from Kenya, Albert Correa, also claiming a victory for himself in that one. A man finished second though from Morocco. That's El Arabi of Morocco, finishing with 44 seconds behind him. And an Italian, Eyob Faniel, claiming third. So it means yet again that lady, Kenya's Perez Chepcheche, doing so well when it comes to marathons. Well, away from the racetrack, let's talk about the UFC ring. Well, the Nigerian nightmare, Kamaru Usman, well, he's called himself now the best pound-for-pound fighter after he defended his welterweight title in unanimous decision against Colby Covington in a rematch at UFC 268 in New York very early on Sunday morning. He's 34, Kamaru Usman. He dropped his challenger twice in quick succession at the end of the second round with a big left hook with a huge right hand. A good one for Usman, who won the first match back in December 2019. So this was a rematch yet again, and he paid tribute to his opponent, calling him the next best guy in the division, and it respects him even though he's now beaten him twice. So he's really flying the Nigerian flag quite well, Kamaru Usman, and his victory improves his record to 20-1 and extends his winning streak to 19 fights as he cemented his place at the top of the UFC's pound-for-pound list. Not a bad one for Kamaru Usman yet again. They call him the Nigerian nightmare. Well, away from that, let's talk about football this time. Some results for you from the English Premiership results on Sunday. Well, a couple of results we did see. The shocking one was seeing Liverpool. Yes, they lost 3-2 away to West Ham United Olympic Stadium. 2 goals, we saw it. Not a bad one for them. West Ham to take it away from Liverpool. Leicester against Leeds finishing 1-1. And we saw Antonio Conte back in the Premier League for Tottenham this time. A draw at Goodison Park against Everton. But Arsenal are winning. Yes, the Arsenal are winning. 1-0 victory over Watford. Emile Smith-Rowe yet again for the Gunners, which means they've won their last 6 matches in all competitions. The Gunners are back, but they've lost to Fulham much later in the world of sports.
And that's our show for today. But if you just joined, you can head over to our YouTube channel for you to watch all that we've done. But here are some programs you can catch later today on this channel.
Well, on News Central at 1 p.m. Beyond the Continent, 1 p.m. West African time.
And at 11 a.m. West African time, you can stay tuned to Business Edge.
And at 7 p.m. West African time, one of my favorites, Village Square Africa. Gather up, you don't want to miss it. Right then, that's our package for Monday. Good to be back on the yellow big couch.
We're so happy to have you back. Most times I was struggling from calling Joe Olisa. I had to double check. Okay, so it's Joe on the show today. And now I'm almost stuck with Joe, calling you Joe this time around.
You see why you need to start practicing how to play them in, plenty.
Wow, so we should tap into that as well?
Yes.
Oh,
Olisa
is back.
Yeah, good to be back. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. Once again, big up to the production team and the technical crew. We'll be here once again tomorrow, 9th of November for you, right here on Breakfast Central.
On behalf of Joe, Olisa, Oluchi, and technical crew, we're wishing you a lovely day. See you tomorrow.
Have a good week. Bye.
Breakfast Central, let's go straight to sports. Tolu today is on standby. What's happening, Tolu?